Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lyndsay Levingston. Bring you greetings. I bring you greetings from Houston, Texas. And I am a multimedia professional and founder of Survive Her, a breast cancer awareness nonprofit. And I'm so excited to introduce Teneshia Carr, who is a creative director, founder, entrepreneur. She is the owner and editor-in-chief of Blanc magazine and a contributing editor rather, of to Inc. magazine. But before we jump into our conversation, I just want to share a little bit about why I think it's important that we continue to amplify women's voices through media. I want to share a little bit about my background. So I am a former TV news reporter and anchor. I was living in New York City in 2019, working, hustling and bustling. And during the summer of 2019, during a routine self-exam in the shower, I felt a lump in my right breast and immediately scheduled a well woman exam. And it was during that time that I got my very first mammogram at the age of 37. After subsequent exams and a biopsy, it was confirmed that the lump I felt in my right breast was cancerous. I was diagnosed with triple negative stage 2B breast cancer at the age of 37. So at that, of course, I wasn't even thinking about breast health before the age of 40, nor was I thinking about preventative exams. So fast forward, I underwent 15 rounds of chemotherapy, breast reconstruction, and I also had another procedure to remove my ovaries and fallopian tubes because I learned through genetic testing that I carry the BRCA1 gene mutation. So I started Survive Her to inform, inspire, and to empower women about breast cancer awareness and wellness beyond the month of October, because 1 in 8 women are affected by breast cancer in their lifetime. I was one of those 8. I am one of those 8. And so through Survive Her, amplifying the voice of the women of color, sharing the message and stressing the importance of mammography, preventative exams, advocating for yourself, speaking up when you feel something abnormal in your body, and also seeking genetic testing. I had no idea that I would be the 14th female on my dad's side of the family to have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So I leverage media platforms to share this message and to amplify the voices of women of color who are often underserved and unheard. So thank you so much to WEOP for this platform and opportunity. And I now want to segue into the heart of this conversation and talking to Teneshia about her work in media and how she is amplifying the voices of women of color in her space. So Teneshia, fashion photographer, owner and editor-in-chief of Blanc magazine, share with us your innovation in your driving force behind starting a magazine. That is not an easy feat.
No, it's not, Lyndsay. And first of all, the journalist in me is dying to actually interview you and find out more about how you started your business. But we can, I suppose, talk about me today. Why I started Blanc is anger. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. Frustration at the idea that I was a teenager. I grew up in South Philadelphia and I became obsessed with fashion magazines, and not like becoming a model or anything, just the idea of building these worlds, right? And there was no one, issue after issue, magazine after magazine, that looked like me or anyone that I knew. I did all the right things. I went to Ivy League university. I interned with the best magazines, and it wasn't until an editor told me that nepotism is real, that I would never become an editor, and that I should go and shoot shoes in a factory because that is worth more of my time. Now, that sounds like real crazy to say to a 21-year-old Black woman, and it is, but it gave me a choice, right?
She told you to wait, she told you to shoot shoes.
Well, like for context, I was a photographer, right? So I was shooting shoes for big magazine, for big shoe brands. And it was terrible, grimy work in a factory in a warehouse. It was stable money, but it was the furthest connection from fashion that you can get. And after an internship, that's what she told me. After I presented her with my work, she said, shooting 350-pound women in dresses isn't going to, because that's what I shoot. I shoot what's in my book, right? I shoot what I see. I shoot.
And you shoot real, I mean, it's real women, right?
Yes, I shoot real women. I shoot my trans friends. I shoot more than one Black model in a magazine. And at the time, this is before, the past 4 years of, I'm going to say, progression. 10 years ago, it was unheard of to put a trans woman on the cover of a magazine. And I did. And it was normal. And so I had a choice. It was either shoot shoes or make my own table. And that's what I did. I had no other choice. So I built it out of anger and frustration. Mm-hmm. And that's how after 100 million steps, got here.
Wow. Well, I'm angry now having heard that. So I understand
was so angry at the time.
That is just so demeaning and just so discouraging. But look at you.
That's not just like my story, though, right? That's how many times can you point to your story as a Black woman and found that, you experienced microaggressions in the workplace, in education, in healthcare, where you were meant to feel like other, or you know you're being underserved and you don't understand why, and you know why. And, it's the story of the Black woman in America. This is why I have to tell our stories, right?
Well, speaking of telling our stories, Inc. magazine gave you a phenomenal platform through all the hats to share stories about and various narratives of women of color and all of the hats we wear, because it's counselor, it's nurse, it's teacher, it's mom, aunt, wife, etc. Talk more about that and how you are leveraging that platform to amplify women's voices and telling our stories with transparency and vulnerability.
It was really important for me, and it's always important for me in every aspect of my business, to find partners that really care about my ethos and my mission. So working with Inc. was natural because they know that these stories need to be told, right? The story of the American entrepreneur is the story of the Black woman entrepreneur, right? And so the editor-in-chief, Scott Omelanik, he said, listen, you're the Black woman entrepreneur. Let's figure out how we can tell stories. And that's what it is. And it's been evolving. And it's just like figuring out how to give platform and amplify the voices of that woman who, Stormy Steele of Canvas Beauty Brand. She built her beauty brand in her kitchen with $800. And then 2 years later, she made $20 million. But these stories are all of our stories that no one is telling, right? So how can we figure out how to give these women voice by saying, just tell us your story. Just tell us your journey as it was, as it is, in rawness. It's okay to be vulnerable here. It's okay to be hard and soft and all the things that make Black women in this space. And, it was kind of like a demand of mine, because I'm a little bit controlling, to just give me the resources and then just get out of my way, right? Because that's all Black women need, right? We need access, opportunities, resources, and then just for everyone to get out of our way. So
you created a table, and now here you are inviting women to your table to have these conversations. You're really saying to women, pull up a seat, join me, let's talk about it. Yeah. And you mentioned something else, Teneshia, that I think is very important to this forum, today's forum, is access. Oftentimes, Black women are not extended the access, nor do we have the resources, nor are people just talking about how we can really build our businesses and the tools and the equipment we need to be successful. What is your advice to women who are considering starting a business, or to those who are right now experiencing challenges in their entrepreneurial journey?
If you are thinking of starting a business, stop thinking and start. The idea will never get better on a piece of paper, on a notepad, on some file tucked away in your laptop. Start, fail, figure out what it is, create new verticals, change, evolve. Realize that the idea that you've been playing with for 4 years is terrible, but then bursts something else out of it. So for entrepreneurs, start. And for women that are experiencing difficulties, it's harder, and it's always been harder for Black women, and that's what it is, and that's okay, right? It's not okay, but I used to feel like something was wrong with me, why I couldn't get past these roadblocks in my business, and why I felt like people weren't hearing me, and like maybe I should be louder or harder or stronger, all these things I felt like I had to do. And until I realized that systemic racism is a real thing in every sector of our lives. We are underserved, we are neglected, and redlining from education, from healthcare. I've experienced exactly what you've experienced, feeling a lump, taking forever to see a doctor, and realizing that, wow, this is like, something could be really wrong with me and I can't get the help I need. And that frustration is felt within my banking relationships, so it's all throughout every part of our lives that we feel this systemic underserving, right? Once I realized that it's not me, I kind of like lifted it a little bit, right? It kind of lifted that idea of it being just me. So I would say, like, give yourself grace is the first thing. And the second thing is find partners who care about you. My life and my business changed when I stopped subjecting myself to partners. And this is banks, this is financial partners, this is all across your business. You don't have to subject yourself to poor partnerships. Find people who love what you're doing, who can really support you. Move your money. Banks, if your bank isn't serving you, isn't giving you a credit line. I sat for 2 years with a bank who wasn't giving me a credit line. Just move. Just find a partner who will help you amplify your voice. That's what this is about, right?
Wow, you dropped so many jewels and so many tips. I really want to know, Teneshia, and thank you for sharing that, to allow yourself grace, and to, faith without works is dead, but if you don't put action behind it and thought, a vision, it's not going to come to fruition. And to your point, you can write it down, but it'll just sit there and collect dust. But it's not until you take that first step. And I know it sounds scary or there's fear behind it, but I can tell you from personal experience, I didn't even think about starting a nonprofit. It just kind of blossomed into this movement out of need.
Yes, right.
Yours was built out of anger. Mine was need, because women, especially women of color, need to know about breast health, mammograms. Some women have never heard about mammograms. Some women don't even know about genetic testing and all of the science and advancements that are out there as it relates to breast health and breast cancer. But I'm curious to know, Teneshia, while it's not easy starting a business, can you share a story of when you failed and how you picked yourself up and how you bounced back from a failure?
Yes. I used intuition to build the creative part of my business, right? So I figured out how to put together a physical magazine. That was the easy part, even though it's really hard to figure out how to find hundreds of contributors to come together under one idea and edit it to make a cohesive sense. So that part was hard, but that part was easy for me. Figuring out the business of magazine is the hardest challenge of my life. And it's still hard every day. Even as my business is growing in success, it's getting harder, right? So I fail all the time. There are no big stories of failure because I am figuring out how to do every single part of my business by myself. And then once I figure that out, I figure out how, okay, I'm not an expert at this. I need to find someone to do this for me, but I still have to figure it out. So I have failed on pricing. I have underpriced myself, and it has taken me a long time to get out of that failure. I have picked the wrong distributors, the wrong paper, the wrong, it's like not the mistakes. It's not the mistakes. It's the fact that I started this with $2,500. I started this in London. I figured out how to print this, how to make this go to 25 countries, 4 times a year, 100,000 copies. I work with the biggest brands in the world. Those are my failures don't mean anything to me. My successes are the things that keep me going. I work with the biggest fashion brands in the world to do the thing that I want to do, which is connect creatives, underrepresented creatives with the biggest fashion brands in the world to tell stories. That's what I want to do. So those creatives can get paid, so I can be a real part of the ecosystem that builds our community, that really helps creatives in a meaningful way. Those are my successes. I don't care about the fail. I'm gonna fail tomorrow. I'm failing right now because I should be doing something else. It's
That's such a good message to share. So encouraging and inspiring. Teneshia, you fail, but you get back up. But you are focused on, and you just, I think, reiterated the fact that you're focused on the big picture and the goal, and that is supporting other creators and other women to amplify their voices. So tomorrow it could be a pricing mistake or publisher or whatever it could be. But the main takeaway from that, what I understand and what I heard you say, is that you're focused on the big picture. And that is helping creators, connecting creators within the fashion space. I know that you have a lot of amazing things on your plate. Just want to know more about the future for Blanc Media. What can you tell us as we're about to close out 2022 and enter into a new year? What can we expect from Blanc Media, your vision, and where are you taking your creative projects?
I think Blanc itself is a platform, but the most important thing for me is the relationships that I'm building with the creatives and allowing them to be seen, and then also just the storytelling of it. It's not just like fashion, like all the hats is the same. It's the storytelling. It's telling our stories is the thing that's important to me. So for next year, it's just figuring out how to tell bigger stories with bigger brands. So one of our biggest supporters is Gucci.
Just
they bought in very early.
Gucci.
Yes. Oh, wait. Oh, we always have a Gucci. This is my magazine, everyone. We always have a Gucci back cover. They bought in very early. They have been really hefty with their support. Along with Gucci, all LVMH brands, so Fendi, Tiffany, Louis Vuitton, Dior. We work with Chanel, Armani, Ralph Lauren. I'm a close partner with Camera della Moda, which is the Italian Fashion Federation. And so we put on shows in Italy. We bring designers, BIPOC designers to Milan, and we put on presentations. And so that's a really big partnership. I've just been really not lucky. It's not luck. It's not luck.
Hard work, because I know
I'm not going to minimize
to develop those relationships with these significant designer luxury brands.
Yes, it has not been luck. It has been a lot of hard work, a lot of really good partnerships, a lot of failure. And then figuring out how to fix those failures. That's what it's been. For next year, it's just expanding on that. I just started a great partnership with the brand Valentino. I'm also working with a really well-known person in fashion. His name is Stefano Tonki, because my belief is that if there are giants in the space that you want to be in, no matter what race of that giant, you find that giant and you make him your ally. And so that's what I've always done. There are a few Black female-owned fashion magazines, and they're amazing, but they don't have advertising. They don't have the partnerships that I have. And it's awful. And the way I've been able to kind of move up a little bit is by partnering, finding the best publishers that worked with, like my publisher was the publisher of InStyle and Esquire and Details. And so Stefano, my partner, and I, we are creating something called Blanc Space. So it's this idea of building community. Yes. So creating experiential events all across the country connected to big festivals and working directly with brands to activate in communities. So go to Atlanta and create a culture house for 3 days, et cetera. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, figuring out how to make a Blanc experience.
Make a Blanc experience. This simply mind-blowing that you have these dynamic companies behind you supporting a woman of color. So that is certainly, I think, gives a lot of us hope that it's not impossible to connect with those brands that may not seem accessible, right, and or attainable. So congratulations and kudos to you. And hello, Valentino. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Simply fantastic. Before we open the floor, I understand we're going to take some questions from the audience. Just maybe 2 takeaways that you want women to hear, to know, to learn from this conversation. What would you say to empower women today?
Start and don't be afraid to fail. Failure is a good thing sometimes. It makes you stop, it makes you pause, it makes you think about how you can do things better. So start and don't be afraid. And my second thought is, and I keep reiterating this because I don't think people really understand the idea of partnerships, but find partners who love you, who really care about your mission. If they aren't ride or die with you, and even if it's your accountant, then get another accountant. I'm telling you, because you need to find the best partners available. You will not succeed on your own, and you will not succeed without good partners. So find them. They are out there. If your product is good, if your business is good, you will attract good partners. And those partners have to be with you. So those are my 2 things.
Woo! Drops mic. I don't have a mic here. Normally I do. Drops the mic. Teneshia, you have one. Teneshia said start and partner. I always think of it as building if you're in WNBA or NBA, you're building your team. You want a really dynamic starting lineup?
I don't know anything about sports.
So you need a really dynamic team.
Yes, that
right. Will contribute to the success of your company.
I want to thank both of you ladies for your time today. We really appreciate you coming in and sharing your expertise. And you guys all have to read all the hats. And also, as you know, Lyndsay has a nonprofit organization called Survive Her.